Hello, do you enjoy trading card games? Do you find joy in a child's first gambling addiction? I know I do. I love throwing away $10 for nothing more than 10 cents worth of cardboard. Dungeon Drafters is a card game disguised as a dungeon crawler. Despite the name, it's not about drafting a deck of cards, but it is a game about living every Yu-Gi-Oh player's wet dream. Going into a random game shop and beating the shit out of 10-year-olds, because my deck is just better, kid. Like all card games, your deck determines the quality of gameplay. A bad deck will leave you dying on your way to the boss room 7 times in a row. A good deck will make you question if the developer even knows how to design a boss fight. To get started, I pick my character and begin my journey. I am a lonely peon working in the salt mines of Twitter. As such, I've chosen an anime girl as my profile, but since I want to appear different, I picked an anime girl from an ancient, idealized time, known as the 90s. I'm given a starting deck of the red and blue variety, and after surviving the Titanic, I'm faced with my first real enemy, the fact that this is a card game. And if there's one thing I hate, it's randomization. Randomness is the polar opposite of skill. I learned this from Magic. Since you don't control what you draw from your deck, there's no skill. You're just playing whatever the deck gives you. There's no real choice. It's not like I control what cards compose my deck, allowing me to influence the probability that I'll draw certain types of cards when I need them. No, card games are just bullshit. Case in point, the first boss I'm presented with is a floating head that I literally am not equipped to kill. But death is not the end for me. I am resurrected in a dark cave and told that I must save the world from an evil force that even the gods couldn't defeat. I'm going to need more cards. Fortunately, I have a local game store nearby, and it's located in a bar. Unfortunately, the prices are fucking extortion. 200 clams for a common? Also, can we talk about the fact that we're paying these exorbitant prices when the shop is literally just hitting print on the old Hewlett-Packard back there? Gameplay is fairly straightforward. The game is turn-based, and you are allotted 3 actions before you automatically end your turn. The map is laid out on a quadrigonal grid. Movement will strictly follow either the X or Y axis. I don't want to see any diagonals here. Including the tutorial, there are 6 dungeons. Within these dungeons, you'll find a variety of unique monsters, such as goblins. Why is it always goblins? But not just any goblins, Japanese goblins. Ghosts, pirate ghosts, 10,000 leagues beneath the sea, and jesters. I hate these happy little fuckers. If there's anything in this world that can ruin anyone's day, it's a clown. There is no class of person more despicable than someone who takes pleasure in applying the Cosby maneuver multiple rounds in a row. If you've ever felt like you couldn't get a good read on what a monster can do, simply click on them. The game tells you their whole playbook. But why are we doing all this? Because of that goddamn tower. The tower is your end goal, because that tower is where Space Dracula lives. Welcome to the world of 4 corners. It's a very literal name, we know. In the past, there were 4 major gods that formed the world into what we see today. These gods were the Raider, Warden, Traveler, and Oracle. One day, a 5th god emerged, Space Dracula. But the 4 gods didn't like the new kid in school, so they conspired to bully the shit out of him. Space Dracula was ultimately shoved inside his locker, with the 4 gods coming together to perform a suicide pact, turning the tower to crystal. But the final dying wish of the gods was to bestow the mortals of the realm with their magic. Unfortunately, the license went to Wizards of the Coast, so spells are now cards, and a single card is worth anywhere from hundreds to thousands of dollars. And the price of a booster pack? Murder. Now, the Drac is back, and without any gods around, you must stop him. You must delve into the depths of each god's birthplace, kill their best friend, and come back with cards and treasures to help you fund your war effort. You might not be the hero you were made out to be. If you're going to defeat Dracula, you're going to need a firm grasp on the colors. Red is the color of passion and potential. Red argues that your life and your cards are nothing if they go untouched. Would you see yourself sitting carefully in the corner, waiting turn after turn as your minions do all the work? Or would you grab Destiny by the ballsack and make her your bitch? From the surface, red may seem like the simplest of colors. The ability to deal direct damage easily to multiple opponents seems like a luxury, but I assure you that nothing could be further from the truth. When you're staring down a giant ogre demon and contemplating if you want to burn 2 health to fetch 2 cards, that's when you'll realize that the other colors have it pretty easy. Blue is what you play when you want to feel smarter than everyone else. Blue also has the second best card advantage spell in the game, Copycat. I get to cast my favorite spell, then spend 2 action points copying it twice. The downside? I just wasted an entire turn doing very little to get here. If you like indirect damage, mass teleportation, calling your friends to fight your battles, and occasionally vaporizing a motherfucker, blue might be the color for you. Earth. Sorry, brown is the color of durability and sustainability. Are you tired of monsters hurting you? Tired of having a low life total? If you said yes to either of these, then brown might have you covered. Setting up shields and foregoing movement in favor of withstanding the toughest of punishments is the go-to strategy. Do you enjoy construction? Dream of working the job site? Then I have some good news for you. All our offensive capabilities in this color come from our skill as a construction worker. The plan is simple. Erect stagnant structures around the map and hopefully blast our opponents. The only hiccup? Someone has to hit these structures to make them work, and the enemies aren't going to willingly. Honestly, it's not my favorite. It could be good, but then again, the French could be bearable. Do you dream of being a ninja? Do you wish to forsake your life of adulthood and responsibilities in pursuit of the ninja way? Then I have just the thing for you. Green is the color of agility and flexibility. The most useful card in its toolkit is Hand Sleight. Honestly, most decks are probably going to want to dip at least 1 point into green for this card alone. By discarding Hand Sleight and another card, you're able to draw 2 more in return. 3 if you discarded another Hand Sleight. Once you have a firm grasp of the colors, it's time to make a deck. In order to make a deck legal, it must contain a minimum of 40 cards and a maximum of 50, with no more than 4 copies of any single card. Each dungeon has 3 floors to it and a boss room. At the end of each floor, you'll be presented with an elevator that continues the run, or a shrine that teleports you back to town. As much as it pains me, the proper response early on is to bitch out and run away. All those booster packs and gold you've collected get burned away when you die. The progression of a dungeon drafter will follow a very similar path. You'll decide the color of deck you want to make, dive into a dungeon that drops those packs, and then let the pixelated gambling induce a dopaminergic response from your brain. Then go back to the card shop and pay those greedy bastards for more copies of your favorite card. You can accept quests from different NPCs scattered around town. Some of these quests are tutorials on the different colors. Others are excuses to go fishing in the river or play puzzles with an old man. Eventually, if you've opened enough packs, you'll come across stranger cards. Don't be afraid. This is the path to true power. At first, it seems like a bad choice. Many of these spells are random with equal chances to harm you just as much as they might harm the opponent. Ow! But within these cards lies the potential to break the game. I present to you the deck list that made the tower my bitch. It doesn't make sense right now, but I'll explain. As you murder each respective landlord, you increase the amount of cards legally allowed in your deck. This is where the game tricks you. You'll start to get ideas in your head, ideas of all the fun scenarios that these cards could be useful in. What you won't think about is how bad it's going to feel when that deck of 70 cards you took into the dungeon fails to draw anything useful for 3 turns straight. On top of that, each dungeon gets harder for each one you've beat before it, so the tolerance for bad choices gets smaller and smaller. If you want any chance of winning, you're going to need to refine the deck. What's the best way to do that? Remove the randomization. First, we need to trim our deck down as close to the minimum as possible. Second, we're going almost entirely purple. I mentioned each other color strengths, but what if I told you the Stranger has all of them? Solar Arrival is going to handle our healing. It teleports us a generous distance, heals 2, and deals 2 damage in a 1 square radius. Queen's Arrival is our bread and butter. Another teleport along either a straight or diagonal axis with 3 damage dealt to all enemies in those same lines afterwards. It's the majority of the damage we deal and a crucial part of the build. Eviction lets us kick the can down the road. Pick an enemy, any enemy. It's now not in this room. It could be ahead of you. It could be behind you. I don't know where it went, but it's not here and I don't have to deal with it. Ancient's Gaze and Apocalypse are two nice-to-have cards. Ancient's Gaze turns all enemies with less health than my devotion to purple into stone. This can clear an entire room instantly. Apocalypse counts the amount of total damage I've dealt this turn and deals it to every enemy. Both of these spells are luxuries, mostly used for when I need to clear a room and I don't care how. Until I got these cards, I was using Maelstrom as a filler, a spell that deals 21 damage split across all entities in the room, myself included. Jack, I hear you saying. This all seems well and good, but what makes this different from other decks? Graveyard recursion.
Rise from your grave.
Purple is the color of using your grave as a resource. Exhume is the ability to pull cards back from the grave. The only limitation? They can't recur other Exhume spells, but that only holds you back if you let it. Mourning draws us 2 cards from the graveyard, fairly standard, but what isn't standard is Seek. Seek lets us choose a card in our hand and fetches all other copies of it from both the deck and the grave. Couple this with a few very expensive runes that raise the limit of copies I'm allowed to take, and congratulations, you now can instantly fetch 7 copies of the same spell. But all this assumes you get the right starting hand. That's why you take 1 point in green, for Hand Sleight. Here's what you do. Draw cards with Hand Sleight until you find a Seek. Use Seek to fetch all copies of Hand Sleight. Continue to draw cards until you find 2 Seeks. Fetch all copies of Seek. Now you just draw until you find any spell you want, then Seek for the other 6 copies. You can draw the entire deck before you've even taken your first step. But we're not done yet. There's one final touch, and then we'll be unstoppable. You can acquire trinkets called Curios. These are passive bonuses applied to your character. One of these is called Scissor Charm. Simply follow the quest given to you by the same weird man that started you on this path to begin with. After a while, you'll be gifted with the scissors. These recur 3 cards for every 5 purple spells you've cast, making our 40-card deck go that much further. And with that, you have all you need to storm the tower and challenge Space Dracula himself. Look at this dude. You can't fool me, Batman, Jesus Christ. And it will be so easy that you'll ask yourself why you spent 24 hours playing this game. I'm not kidding. I built this deck to fight the Lava Dog, and went on to one-shot most of the tower, Dracula included. All in all, I give Dungeon Drafters a "this game is easier than I thought" out of 10. A warm thank you to everyone who stuck around. Subscribe if you liked it, because there's more to come. I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care.